Welcome to the third instalment of getting the M3 back on the road. Those of you that have been following this mini-series, you'll know that the M3 will not go through an MOT, and there's a list of jobs that need to be done to bring it back to former glories. In part one, we ran through the full list of work that needed to be done, and then went on to replace corroded brake pipes, which was a bit of a mission. And then in part two, we had 3 unexpected problems that were not known when we did part one. So those were rear suspension spring, which has been replaced by that one. The anti-roll bar link snapped whilst replacing the suspension spring. So we replaced both the passenger and driver's side drop links. Lastly, at some point, someone had reversed into the front of the car and pushed this bracket in, scratching all along the top there, so that got resprayed. Now we've got those things done, we're back on track, and the next job is to replace the brake discs and pads front and rear, because they are rusty and do not look attractive. I've ordered a couple of boxes, here they are, let's see what's inside. Brembo, the choice of champions. Because that's us. See the difference those are going to make. So let's get our overalls on and get to work. Let's do this. Brake pad should not be the most complicated of tasks. We're going to have this spring to take out, which is going to be under quite a bit of tension, but shouldn't be a big deal. We've got a brake pad wear sensor, which I've got a new one to replace that with. Then it will be a couple of bolts holding the caliper, and there'll be another couple of bolts holding the caliper carrier. There'll be this bolt to then take the disc out, because these are the rear brakes. There's going to be brake shoes behind this. Sometimes these wear the inside of the drum of the disc, which makes the disc quite hard to pull off, but that's probably more where the rear brakes are the drum brakes, as opposed to here they are the pads. The shoes are just for the handbrake, so you're not expecting that to be too big a problem. Let's start undoing stuff. You can see on the clip that it hooks under that hole, so it goes in that way. So to get it out, you need to give it a bit of leverage in that direction, and then it comes out quite easily. Next, on the back of the caliper, we've got these little rubber covers to get off, and then I suspect under there will be an Allen key bolt. $7mm Allen key, same as Vauxhall's. As you unwind that bolt, you can see it, and when you think it's all the way out, you can get a screwdriver in and just push it out. Same procedure on the bottom one. In theory, now the caliper should just slide off. Here's the brake pad with the sensor, so we can just maneuver that sensor out, and really we can reuse that. I'm gonna move the jack over to rest this caliper on, otherwise this pipe here is going to be put under strain and then has the risk of leaking if we just let it dangle. Next up, we've got 2 bolts for the caliper carrier, there and there, which are 16mm. bolt for the disc. 6mm Allen key. What a rookie mistake. There's another 6mm in there. I make the mistakes, so you don't have to. Funny how when you undo the bolts, things come off easily. Here are the handbrake brake shoes. With these exposed, always a good idea just to rough it up with some sandpaper, in order to give it a bit more grip. So if it was smooth and shiny, then it's more likely to slip when you got the handbrake on. It's also a good opportunity to adjust the handbrake. So this kind of cog looking thing here, if I get a screwdriver in and lever that in that direction, it will expand the brake shoes a little bit, so it will be a bit tighter on the drum, meaning the handbrake will feel tighter. You have to put it up as many clicks to secure the car. So this can be a bit of trial and error. Often what you'd do is you'd wind it out so it was too tight that you either couldn't get the drum back on, or if you could get the drum back on it wouldn't move, and then you just wind it back a notch or two the other way, so you know it's as tight as it can be without being too tight. The brake hub to be very clean, free of any dirt, because when you put the disc back on, there was a tiny bit of rock or something. It would distort the whole disc, so when you're braking it's not going to be even and you're going to get a judder on the pedal, which is never very nice, and potentially another MOT fail. If I do it up like this, I'm going to have a problem. Could anyone spot why? Yeah, where are the holes for the wheel nuts? Let's try rotating it and see if it lines up. There they are. Then back on the caliper carrier. Next, I'm just going to give the carrier a bit of a clean where the brake pads will seat. Here are the new brake pads. Here's the old one. You can see how much that pad's worn by. It's about 50%. So as well as the disc being a bit grim with corrosion, also good to be changing the pads. It'll be a long while before those need to be done again. The next step before we put the new pads on, because there is more pad on the new ones as I just showed you, they're not going to fit back on, because this piston on the caliper is what pushes the brake pads to squeeze the disc to stop the car. As the pad wears, the piston comes out a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. So to put the new pads on now, we need to push this piston all the way back in so it can start its journey again. And to do that, we use these big grips. It's nice and easy. Sometimes these pistons can get a bit stuck and be seized and really hard to push back in. Applying a bit of copper grease just to the outside of where the pad is going to touch the carrier, in the hope that avoids any kind of squeaking. Alright, so the rear one has this sensor which has to go through the top of the caliper like that. Unless I follow the sensor back to the plug and unplug it, this is going to be a bit more fiddly because the caliper is a little bit heavy. And that rear pad just slots into the piston. And then you get your 7mm Allen key and wind these back in. The last bit to do is to get this clip back on. And there you have it. That is how you change rear disc and pads on an E46 M3. Now I will skip to the other side and we will whiz through that. Let's go. That feels much better than it did before. Should just point out that on the passenger side there is no brake sensor. It's just on the driver's side, so that's one less thing to worry about. Made it slightly easier, and I did that side in just over 20 minutes. It's pretty good going. And I am an idiot. See these dots? As the disc spins that way, the dots need to go into the middle. So I need to swap those around. No biggie, I've only got myself to blame. Feels like we're narrowing down on these MOT failures now, so you need to get the front wheels in the air and get those off so we can do the front discs and pads as well. And whilst the wheels are off, I'm going to get them refurbed and get the tyres done. Right, we've got the wheels off, they're all ready to go and be refurbed. Nice diamond cut finish. I'm aware that I've called them crystal cut more than once in my previous videos. It is diamond cut. The M3's in the air and has no MOTs. How are we going to get all those wheels to the wheel repair shop? Not in that. What's that I hear coming up the track? It's our old friend, the oil leaky E90, which no longer leaks oil, but it does consume a lot of oil internally, and that's something we need to look at in a future project. Here it is, complete still with dent in the door, which is also a future project to fix. Right, let's load up these wheels. Let's go. Say goodbye to the wheel specialist. They're gonna sort us out. We'll pick them up next week. Just gonna be in the next video now, so stay tuned to see the results of those. Anyway, back to the garage. Before we continue with the brakes, this fuel filler neck has been playing on my mind, and I've been wondering how on earth I'm going to deal with it. I think I've got an idea. It's a bit of a bodge, bear with me. It's certainly not textbook, but hear me out on this one. To be honest, like, I'm trying to move the fuel filler neck out the way so I can get to the little stub of thread that's still left, and it's so difficult. I don't really get why it's a fail. Anyway, here's my current plan. I've got this little plastic nut which is for wheel arch trims that attaches to the body, and then you screw into that. I'm going to try and saw, you can see I've already started, around the edge to make it really narrow, and then hopefully I can get it onto that little bit of thread, and maybe that's enough to satisfy BMW. Not a perfect repair by any means, but given that I really don't see that it's that much of an issue, hopefully it will do the job just to get us through this MOT. There's the finished bodge. Let's see if it fits. Take two. This time we're going to drill the hole a little bit bigger. Well, it's bodge as go, and that certainly is a bodge, but I think that's a pretty genius bodge. I mean, that's wedged in there now, and it would take quite a bit of force to pull it out, so I can't see that they'll fail that, and that was a job they quoted 220 quid to do. I don't know what they're intending on doing for that money. Anyway, that's a tick off the list. Moving back to the brakes. So we've got exactly the same situation on the front discs and pads here. We've got the same kind of spring, the same covers which will uncover the 7mm Allen key bolt, and then the same bolts for the caliper carrier. What we don't have on the front, which makes things a bit easier, is the drums. So under here is just a hub. So here we go. Let's get rid of all this corroded brake disc. Why this top one was tight, but we've done it with some leverage. I've been scuppered trying to get these bolts out that secure the disc. What I need is an impact tool. You put your socket in and you got your tool, and then you hammer the tool and it turns the bolt without rounding it off. So I don't have one of those. I've got one on order, so we're going to have to stick a pin in this for the time being. I just thought I would come round to the other sides and manage to get these ones off. So at least I can change the passenger side front disc and pads here. So as with the rear brakes, we only have the brake sensor on the one side, on the front, and on the front it is the passenger side that has it. Word warning, the brake fluid, as you squeeze in the brake caliper piston, this one, pushes the brake fluid back through the system, and where I did the brake pipes in the first video and bled the brakes, the brake reservoir was full. So it pushed a bit of brake fluid out through the lid. If you can suck a bit out before you do brake pads, that's advisable. Or just make sure you got some rag to catch the fluid that comes out. So I've done 3 discs and pads, the 2 rears and the passenger side front. The driver's side front is just waiting on the impact tool. So in the next clip, I will show you how I use the impact tool to get those 2 bolts out. Then I'm going to say farewell. So as you are watching this, that front driver side brake disc and pads is finished. So all the brake discs and pads are now done. You don't need to see me doing that. You see me do 3 lots of disc and pads in this car, so hopefully you've got the idea of what's involved there. Maybe you're watching this because you're thinking you can give it a go yourself, so hopefully this has helped. Next video we should get the wheels back and we'll do some bits on the interior, and we're getting ever closer to getting this car back on the road. See you then. Got the impact driver.